all for the dough. All for the dough.
All right, y'all. So today we're gonna do a Murda Beatz type style. I set the tempo to 133, and the first instrument that I added is the Travis Scott 808 machine that I showed you guys how to make. I'll put a annotation up in the right-hand corner in case you guys didn't check out that video. Let's get into the bass. All right, let's record that. Command A, select all the notes, Control click, quantize, boom. Cool, let's move on. So changed the bass line. It was at it was in a C minor, so I dropped it 5 notes, and now it's in a G minor scale. Okay. And the next thing I did was I added a flute here from the Funky Fingers VST, and I went into expansion classic stash trap flute 01. All right, so let's record it. All right, now we got something. Let's move along. So the next thing we're going to do is add another flute. I just added the same exact one. It's trap flute 1 in the classic stash. Command A, Control click, quantize, boom. It's under the plucked folder, and it's the Amigo synth. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so this is what we got. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is add this transition synth right here. Again, we're using the Funky Fingers VST. And we went under the orchestra hits folder, and I used the iChoir Scream 23. On the transition synth, I just added a EQ8, and I rolled it all the way off to 1 kilohertz, and I added a little reverb, and now we're going to add the hat. And we're just going to lay down the 2-step, and then we're going to add the trilling hat. All right, so now what we're going to do is add the bass line for the verse. It's really simple. All right. I went ahead and added the snare here, something real simple, just on the 1-3 and the 2-3, so every bar, and then I added a pattern of kicks. All right, let's listen to it. All right, so it's got a nice little bounce to it, and I changed flute 2 too. I changed it to this. All right, just a little different pattern. I also changed the bass line so it was a little bit more corresponding with the melody, and it just goes like this. So I made a few more changes I want to go over with you guys before I play the final track here. We'll start here. I ended up lowering the bass in the verse a little bit, and then I inverted the notes that just went too low. So this is what that sounds like. All right, and I just felt like that added a nice transition. Also, one thing I wanted to note for you guys is in order to prevent clipping, I always add a limiter on the master bus. All right. The next thing I did was I added this conga just to give it the bounce, you know. Everything I make, it's all about the bounce, you know. Okay, it's just something very subtle. So I added a couple more notes here in the middle of the verse. It has a variation, but I also added a chord progression. You'll see here, and it plays throughout the track. But here's how the couple notes that I added to this end. All right, just give it a little bit more bounce, and then here's how the chord progression sounds. All right. So I ended up changing the riff for the flute again. I just wasn't happy with it, and I just kept playing around until I got something that I really, really liked. And so here's how that sounds. Another thing I did with the flute here is I added an Effectrix, and it comes in right here. This is the automation for it. So let's take a look at what I did. So I reversed it here in the beginning. I added an X loop here, a little bit of vinyl, tonal delay, and a couple phaser section. So this is what it sounds like when that comes in. All right. And I just kept playing around with it till I found something that I really liked. I mean, that's the key. You know, you just kind of, when you're adding something like an Effectrix or like a growth speed or something, you just keep messing with it until you get something that works for that particular riff or sound or whatever it is, you know? Oh, I added a wah guitar too. You'll see when it plays all together, it's going to sound really good. And I added a little, an amp to it and some reverb, and I EQ'd it. And this is how that sounds. I didn't like the orchestra hit. I felt like it was too harsh, and it was too, it commanded too much attention again. So I added this instead. to bring a variation and signify a change. And then the last thing I did was I added a record crackle, and that just... Okay, so after all those changes, this is what the track sounds like now, okay? All right, so that's it, guys. That's how you make a Murda Beatz type of track. This beat is available for sale on my website at rapups.com. You guys will get an unlimited lease for $20. That means you guys can make a platinum hit, and I won't get a penny more than that $20 that you spent to buy the beat. Okay, that's a fantastic deal for a slapping beat like this. All you have to do is credit me as the producer, and on everything else, you guys get to reap all the benefits, all right? So that's going to do it for this tutorial. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. If you have any questions about making this type of track, ask and I'll answer them. Again, if this is your, this beat will be available on my website. I will leave links in the description box below, okay? So if this is your first time here at Wrap Ups, I'd love to have you guys subscribe and tune in every Saturday and Sunday for a brand new episode right here at Wrap Ups.